Setting up.
Yo, that's fire. In my base. All your base belong to us. Which is fire. One of the first memes ever.
Oh, I didn't start the stream. Hold on.
Did it work? It must work.
I gotta fix that part quick.
Or did I break it beyond repair?
Hard to tell, isn't it?
All right. So let's see what we are going to do today. So today is the third and the last day for our this week's lesson. So continuing on, if you guys notice, we study for 2 days, and the third day we usually do like a mini project. What we have done, what we have learned. So today we'll do something similar. We'll do a mini small project. I'll be making groups, and we will work on that project. And that project will be based off of Firebase. Okay. And in this project, you will be setting up Firebase, and then incorporating all that we learned on Saturday. And then after that, I'll show you some drawbacks, and we will kind of fix that code and learn, I think, like 2 or 3 more new concepts related to Firebase. Okay. So for our today's project, let me first show you what we have to do. It's called timesheet. Let's see. Okay, so this is how it looks like. Very similar to something that we did in our previous small project. This is employee data management system. So that's what you guys will be working on today. At the bottom of this card or panel, you have your employee name and some details about the employee. Okay, and when I click submit, you will see that row being added on the top. So let's say I add let's see, okay. So it pops up saying employee successfully added. You don't have to do that right now, but you see it shows up on the table above. Okay, so in the first phase, okay, again listen very carefully because I see people working on things that are out of scope. So our scope just for phase 1 is that you guys are going to work on just the HTML. Okay, there won't be any JavaScript right now. In the first phase, 20 minutes, I want you guys to take 20 minutes, work on just creating this HTML. Okay, what it does is you have one form at the bottom, one table at the top. When you add something, it goes on the top, right? This submission button, okay, just create this. When you hit submit, you need JavaScript, right? Because you need to put it on the top of the table. We'll come back to that. Okay, first just create this, just create an empty table, a button, just the HTML. All right, use Bootstrap, create this in like 15 or 20 minutes, and in the next phase we will see what we have to do. Okay, any questions? Okay, just the HTML, nothing else. Okay, all right, so and then we will see what we have to do. Let's see my favorite random generator. Let's see who else joined. Bree, Katie, I don't think I have added you guys. Roland, Kevin is missing. Who else? Who? John. Carl, Connor, and Britton. Connor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Perfect. We have 24. Everybody is a. All right. I know. Well, thank you, Daniel, for joining the class. So now we have all three. All right, we haven't missed anyone. Okay, so let's go in the groups that are shown and just work on the HTML. And after, once you are in the groups, I will display this HTML. We'll take 15-20 minutes and complete that.
Who's rolling in red?
Oh, you're doing it?
Forgot me.
Oh man, I thought we were like equal. Let's see. All right, I'll put you on our group.
Okay.
Hold on, let's see where everybody is. You missed two.
I'll get some.
Okay, so you both of you. All right, Matt and Jay, and then if somebody walks in, you guys will play. All right.
Okay. Cool.
All right. So close.
I don't know. I'm just sitting here. I'm hoping
Are we going to be sharing the
Speaking of here.
Oh, man, we don't want it.
This is
Back there.
Everybody good?
Yeah, whatever.
We're forcing her out.
Whatever. I can't help it that you're just back there.
so if somebody would like to create a Slack group, you already doing it? Just make a little yeah, a direct message.
So again, you are just creating the HTML page. Think ahead with what you need, IDs in jQuery eventually. So make sure when you're creating these elements, what you think would be used in jQuery. So give them IDs. And then after 15 minutes or 20, we'll start on the JavaScript side. Okay, just the HTML.
Okay. I'm just moving right
I'm just getting it all set up for you guys. I've already got the
I don't know.
index at HTML, so
That's really getting
straps.
weird.
Let's get this here.
Alright, so we're fine.
Yeah. I haven't spent so much time on this
I've been a little outside of the layout recently, just because I want to see what else is available. There's bootstrap table.
Yes, the you have it wasn't in
I just I don't trust myself to find something that's so like were you guys able to get in?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
While I was down there, stuff like driving Miss Daisy in the back here. But seriously.
Sweet. So, would somebody like to? I can volunteer to take care of the table and get that set up. Who else would like to get things set up. I think that's what I just said. Yeah, that was if you find yourself down early, I guess you can hop in with one of those.
Okie dokie.
Yeah. What's up with this? You're not going to join us in the club? You're not going to join a... Already did this. Well, it's your one. My game, because I know how it works. Alright, so...
Well, no, I mean,
What do we do?
that's just an inline form. I mean, it's the same thing. So once you start using the layout, it looks very familiar, doesn't it?
I know.
Yeah, that's a hint. You start looking at like, well,
Yeah.
bootstrap,
The last year,
have the right function.
I
can't remember what that was.
Yeah, like so much.
But
Is reusing a bunch of stuff.
you reuse that code.
See how it's used.
Just the thought.
It's the same as how the class is
It's so weird writing things in HTML. I'm just so used to writing everything in jQuery now. I'll just have it on my LEDs rendered out.
Well, that's that. That's a table.
So, yeah, we'll I'm just looking.
Are you on yours?
What's up?
I'm supposed to do that part.
Oh, the newspaper has
No, that's okay. The news article just
Is it so? Yeah, that's
What's
click
up?
on New York Times. On the side, kind of just like warnings, yeah. Where you're using the form for that.
So,
If you click on that,
I remember you filled something out and then inserted it.
oh, so nothing.
I use something.
I'm sorry. This is just. Oh my gosh, tell me
So if you see my name over there, select it. It removes the focus from me. Oh, okay. Now you can operate.
What was that? Why do you have enough?
Sorry, dude. I don't know how that happened. Are you able to see it? So yeah, it does. You just it does look like small, perfect size.
So this is how the page is basically outlined. Okay, I hope everybody saw that. There's a jumbotron, cards, a couple of cards, and table, and then a form. That's it.
I was, yeah, but then I was like,
What was it, Michael?
why'd you spoil the surprise?
Oh.
You start using it, and you're like, wow. Placeholder. I just maybe screwed up like all of the socials. Did I? Yes.
So sad. Like, where is it? And then if it's a date celebration, and it's just so tight. This is all the information
So for the date, we can keep it simple, just a string where you enter in this format. That's all. You don't have to worry about the date picker or anything. Yeah. No. I'm saying somebody in the class is asking about this thing. I'm saying just keep it as a string. No, don't use a date picker or anything. Yeah. No fancy. Yeah. Just keep it. I'm agreeing. Huh?
if you have like the content, just text.
Yeah. That's just text.
When you could just read one page. They all and then I'll like you said, I'll extend it. So we have to also.
I don't know if you get to do that. Bookmark system.
Nothing on the button.
I'm not done yet,
Chew, everyone. You could probably try hold right.
So you have different close it.
Oh, you doing
So just move that close it down, and now
you
it's
Oh, well, that's on the card.
no,
So they removed the don't do that.
but then what left?
Well, we can try float right.
well, for
Yeah,
it says in the card just which way on options.
So I'm also just going to put the card in the flexible for just because I think it would look nicer. Oh, my cursor ran away from me. First, it threw forms all the way across. Good job, guys.
All right, how close are we? Give me a reasonable estimate. 10 minutes more? Okay. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. We'll have extend this 10 minutes more, and I will ask Nick to slack out just the solved index.html. If any team is like severely behind, then look at it. Otherwise, you guys should be able to. Otherwise, continue for 10 more minutes. Okay. All right. He'll just slack out just the index.html. Of course, it doesn't work, so you'll have to go through it and remove the unnecessary parts because it's referring to some JavaScript file. We'll take a look at it.
No, he said don't worry about JavaScript. So.
And if any team gets done, let me know so that I'll give the next instructions.
I'm going to plug this in a little bit of thing inside of that.
What to just change this? And then just because I guess since we are
No, I'm talking about the actual document itself.
doing this,
Formatting
since it is just for money, we're, the minimum is going to be like 1 cent. And then it has to increment by 1 cent. I think it makes sense. So that way, if somebody tries to enter $50 and 2 cents, it might return like an error.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, so when it's you just got this increment button, it just bumps it up by
Did you have the jQuery and Hopper bootstrap links already in your
So-
initial template?
So what I've got is I've just got like Bootstrap and Quill. I just made a little template so that I can auto that. And I don't like that jQuery or Bootstrap has this slim version of jQuery, so I also just got this. But that's just me because I see more about this stuff and lazy and I don't like I can test selections and then do a couple of strokes.
We do have to change Well, not the, I'm not talking about the, I'm just talking about
the header.
Table headers are on the teachers. Table data themselves so the T is labeled as table header, and then with the table data /cells, TD tags. So you have the table header. And then right below we have also that's the first row, and then right below that it's going to be it's the first one. Last name, Jill.
Just working on adding the functionality.
What is it? You guys are done with this one?
We got the HTML.
Okay. So the next is when I click submit, whatever you put in, just fill it. Of course, you don't have these, so you can skip these. Whatever you have over here, fill out these first 4 columns. These 2 we don't have, we'll come back to it.
Yeah, so that's how it's funny that we're yeah. I feel like
Well, the hard money
There's no reason for this works.
But they have
So what do you need?
I'd like to have this people on just watch. Drive remote.
And this is pretty much just what we have to do.
All right. Any other team that finished just the HTML? Okay. All right. So for those teams that have finished, next is the JavaScript part. Add the JavaScript file, and when I click submit, take this information and fill out the tables using jQuery. Okay, and you can only fill 1, 2, 3, 4 columns, right? Because we have 4 inputs. We won't be able to fill these 2 right now. So I want, when I click submit, create the JavaScript file, handle this event using jQuery, and then fill out these these table rows from your JavaScript file.
I told you for a long time. It was like last week.
Start doing the monthly grade and total.
Crazy.
Because we just need employee name, role, start date, fill in that. We've got monthly rate, so we don't all just get like.
I was just gonna do the next part where it's
So I'll do the I'll just make the monthly rate.
See a lot of jiggle.
So, okay.
yeah, how do we get it so that we have the name and the contours and
So first, sorry.
That's it?
What I would do is, since we're going to need to create a row, just looking at the table documentation, we're going to need to create a TR element. So we'll be able to get just variable row.
What?
And then we're also going to create a variable. So it's got a TH right here.
Yes.
So
How much
Oh,
more?
yeah.
Let's see what he is on the right.
Well, no.
So
Where is it right
so
now?
yeah, this is for
Somewhere here? It's okay. As long as it works, it's fine. Yeah, alright. It's okay. Well, and he Nick stacked out the, well, you're not on this our channel, but these guys should be able to see the solution for the HTML. He stacked out, so I don't know if that helps you guys. But anyway, as long as the submit button is there, you're able to click it.
Yeah. Does it make sense what I'm doing, guys? I don't want to be like running off and making no sense at all.
Oh, like I was trying to find the I was just writing it first.
Yeah. I know. If it's good or if it's bad, then you can just set it as the use.
Yeah, sure. Oh, no. Don't worry about that yet.
We changed that one.
So now what I would do is I would just take road.
All right, how far are we? So now take few minutes, and now we are moving to the JavaScript part. I already explained again. On the submit button, just take these, whatever you enter, and put it on the table. On the table, from the input, we only have 4 columns that we can fill: employee name, role, start date, and months worked. Okay, because we have these. Well, actually 3. Can't even do months worked right now. So use these 3 inputs and just populate the first 3 columns and the monthly rate, 4 columns. Okay, so we are skipping months worked and total billed. Okay, so you will fill the first, second, third, and this one, 5th column. Okay. So now you're using JavaScript and jQuery, one click function. If you are done with the index, this shouldn't take that long after that. Again, the index file, Nick already slacked you out. If you are severely behind, you can use this and then start working on the JavaScript part. I'll check back again in like 10 minutes and then we'll start the next part.
Also just double check when I've got everything that
Again, don't worry about the database, the Firebase right now. Just complete this and the JavaScript part. Then we'll move on to the Firebase part.
I have no idea if this is a problem, but I did have problems with this. Just in my homework. If the button was inside of a form, it would always just like it would refresh my whole page.
Okay.
That's the first thing. Is it because it's not in Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, but we have it like now. Yeah, I said we can make it work first, then we can go back. We can do the same thing.
Hey!
Yeah,
But we
that's,
got
that's what I don't understand though, because you know how sometimes it'll work without the document.
I think it was because so I think what we changed is we moved it into the document already because otherwise it was loading the JavaScript before our button was even loaded, so it was just it wasn't working at the right order. And also I put the little angle brackets.
Yes.
I only got that on
So we just solved the problem by putting our function inside the document already function. And I'm still confused about when, because you know, sometimes like some of the solutions to the homework and stuff does not use the document already.
Okay.
And some of it does. So
Okay.
when do you use that?
Again, it depends when you are declaring your HTML,
Yeah.
where you are declaring your jQuery and JavaScript files. If you declare in the head tag, then you need document.ready.
Okay.
And if it's in the body tag at the bottom, then you don't have to worry about it.
Okay, yeah, I like putting it in the body, that's useful.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. If that's what you are using, then yeah, you don't need that. At the bottom. In the body, it has to be at the bottom.
Like if you put your JavaScript query in the head, then put those things in the head, then you have to use document.ready in your JavaScript class. Otherwise, put the links at the bottom.
It's in the document already. Okay, that's why I was like, I thought you said in the body. I thought you were saying bottom.
Have we talked about getting the dates before, or are we talking about like getting today's date?
You guys not talking about moment yet?
No, we'll talk today.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I was just wondering if because I was just looking it up and I'm like, am I getting ahead of ourselves here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You don't even have a database set up yet. That's like too far.
But you can just use the date object. I mean, that's what's like Stack Overflow is on.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, but yes, you
You can, but you shouldn't.
Moment gives
Or
you
date is not. No, it's just dates. It's part of JavaScript, not.
Yeah, it's part of JavaScript.
Yeah,
So,
there is a date object in JavaScript, but when we teach you moment today, you'll realize that using that compared to moment is a world of difference.
Okay.
Moment gives you a much better API access when it comes to manipulating dates, calculating dates, I mean, anything and everything. Moment is like one of the coolest.
Is it a moment.js?
all right, how are we doing?
Yeah, it is probably
How
one
far?
of the coolest
Good?
libraries that you'll use.
So, did you guys complete the index.html?
That is probably.
The HTML part, is that complete?
Basically, yeah.
Basically,
I was doing all the
we
HTML
gotta-
stuff.
Okay.
We gotta stay within scope.
So the code wasn't formatting right, so
Okay.
it was hard to keep track of everything.
Okay.
At a certain point, I
Yeah,
had
you'll
all
have
the
a-
elements,
you'll have a
all the
pretty,
components from Bootstrap.
Okay.
Interesting.
Oh.
Yeah.
Grade schedule assignment.
Okay. So how?
So that was pretty
Hmm.
tricky.
So how far are you guys now?
Figuring out when the next
JavaScript. Okay,
train
that's not too bad. So index is
So
done.
let's say you have
Okay,
a train
continue on the
that's 20
JavaScript.
minutes and it's 8:58. So you have to calculate, like if a train left, you have to calculate how much time you have to wait until the next train arrives. And then on top of that, I think the bonus is you can edit a train, delete a train, stuff like that. And it's all using Firebase as well. So that's your Firebase. I think I'll show you either today or probably Thursday.
Yeah, that's why I like to open in Windows for each folder that I open. Why do you have to do it all? What's the difference?
Select out just this part, like adding the new row on the button click. Just this part. You can remove the ones that we don't need right now.
Okay.
And just this part, just that.
Okay.
And you can mention that this has to be called on that submit button, whatever they are calling right now, and then we'll come back.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. That's at the bottom. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So, because we didn't have like one source, because we weren't waiting, so we can use moment that JS, I was just like, okay, I'll just put it some down right now. And yeah, so we don't know how to get the total build or the months work. Because they're just running based off of moment.js and the start date. Month is then the total. So months work will be based off the start date and moment.js. Total build will be based off the duration month work. So we don't know what to put there yet.
All right. So I know 2 groups are done, and who else is done? Which groups are done? You guys are done. You guys are done. HTML. What about the JavaScript? Almost done. 5 more minutes. Okay, 5 more minutes, and then we are going to start the next one. So for those of you who are kind of behind in JavaScript also, Nick has slacked out the code. Look at the JavaScript code, and you're going to call that code on your submit click button, right? So what do you use? You use the $document.on function. Okay, and then you're going to use the click, whatever your button name is, and then you're going to call your function. And then Nick has slacked out the code that will add, that should add a row to your table. Yes. What is it? Yeah, but in this case, this will work because we are not creating classes dynamically. You in that project, you are creating a dynamic. That's why. So in this case, you already have you can use the TR things. Yeah, you already have. You should have an ID for this table, like an employee ID table or something, and then you can attach those. So that should work. This will work. Your case, we'll talk. That's a little bit different because you are adding dynamic. Yes. So for those of you who are done, you can start setting up your Firebase database, and then we'll come to it.
Going too fast. It's too fast.
How far are you guys?
Well, we got to a point.
Which point? Are you done with your HTML?
Yeah.
Okay. So in your JavaScript, there is just one function you need to write.
Yeah.
Dot on click.
I wrote an on-click function.
Okay, it creates a new row and appends to this ID. That's all, right?
That's what we made a row, not dynamically generating one.
But how do you add if I click over there?
We already have a table.
Yeah. So your table is empty right now. When I run. So this table, when I click submit, you need JavaScript. It
Also
cannot
has to match up to, okay.
Yeah, so whatever I entered over here, When I click submit, it takes these inputs and appends it to the table.
So we're just trying to get first grab that information.
Yeah. So
I was trying to.
you should have IDs for each one of these, right? Add employee name, and then you say dot val, and that should give you, right? Yeah, these you should have given IDs for all these.
Question is,
So then it has to be employee.
Just these 4 columns. Don't worry about the months worked and total bill.
Just need 4 variables.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. Just one function.
Alright, let's do it again. We also do
Nope, I don't.
So we can go, we can come back.
That's what I did for my trip.
All right, we are going to move forward. All right, so I just need your attention for a few minutes and then we'll start the next phase. So this was just the warm up. Now we are getting to the real stuff. Okay, everybody warmed up? Good?
Warmed up's a word for it.
Yeah. All right, so let's look at this. So next phase, we are going to create our Firebase database, and then we are going to insert these values in our database. Okay, before we insert, these are the columns. Now, which of the columns are you going to insert in your database? Which of these columns are important? All of these, or none of these, or some of these? So let's see. The first one, employee name. Do I need to save it to my database? Yes. Okay. A role. Okay. Start date. Months worked. No. Why no? What was that? What was your answer?
We can calculate it.
Yeah. And what was Kellen was saying? What did you say? Right. So the values that are being calculated, we don't usually save those on our database. Why don't we save it? So the months worked, next month, this number is going to be updated, right? So if I save this to my database, what's going to happen when I get this row is going to give me 290 even the next month, right? So the values that we need to calculate on the fly, we call that, we don't save those on our database. We retrieve the data and then calculate these values. Okay, so months worked will not go in your database. What about monthly rate? Do I need this in my database?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, it's constant for now. What about total billed? No, why not? Because it's being calculated. We are going to calculate based on our months worked and monthly rate, and this comes to be this. Okay. All right. So in this phase, okay, all right. Before we begin, let me say. So in this phase, we are going to create our Firebase database, and we are going to save these 4 values: employee name, role, start date, and monthly rate. All right, just 4. Now, so I'm going to revisit our problem from Saturday that we saw, and then I'm going to show you the code for this one just as a revision, and you guys are going to code for the project. Okay, so remember this: we were entering our name, email, age, and all these things, and you save those, and then it goes back. So what were the steps to get this running in our code? What was the first step? Create a new database. Okay, that's on the Firebase side. What about when I come to my code? JavaScript. Now what do I do? Make a table. So the question is, I created my database. The first step is to create a database in our Firebase, right? That's done. So I go to my website, Firebase, and create a database. Okay, that's done. Now what's the second step? I come to my JavaScript code. Now what do I do? What's the first thing I do? Store that information. Even before save. Connect it. I need to set it up or connection, right? I need to get that connection string, all those API keys and all that stuff, and make that connection, right? So I need to make my connection first to Firebase. And the next step is you save it to the database. All right, these are the 2 steps we are going to do. All right, so when I save this, it saves it. So let's revise the code. The first thing we are going to do is the setup part. Okay, copy this from the project settings. They will give you this code. The only thing you need to add is firebase.database. Okay, so we configure our database in our code. The next thing we do is when this submit button is clicked, we take these values, which you should already be getting right now. Then what was the method? The set method, right? So then we use the ref.set method and pass in all these properties, which goes as JSON and stores it to our database. Okay, and our database kind of looks like. Yeah, I already created this database beforehand. So this is how it gets saved. Let me come back to it. So these variables, yeah, these are global variables on the top. There they are. Okay, because I'm kind of reusing them every time. So these get saved on your database. Okay, so you're going to do similar thing on your employee tracking application. You're going to create your Firebase database first, and then you're going to initialize, connect it from your code, and then use the set method, and then save all of these values to your database. Okay, we are not retrieving right now. Again, we are not using the on event or anything. I just want you guys to save this to your database, and to verify, just go to your database and you should be seeing this this row or this record. Okay, and if you were not able to complete the submit button thing, Nick already stacked out the code. That's what you need to use. So you're going to get the input from your fields, these fields, okay, and then save it to your database. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, any questions? Okay, all right. So go ahead. I'm going to leave this code over here. Again, this is similar to this exercise, but it's not the exact code. This is for this example that I was showing you. Okay, but it's going to be very similar. So let me know if any section of this code you want to look at it. But this is on click. So this is what you will be doing. All right, so work on it until 7:45. Then we'll take a break, and then we'll come back at 8.
I'm just going to try and
I feel like you're like really happy.
oh yeah, no, that's for a different thing. So that is for the other project where we're generating the part. It's like the item part. So we're just going to be storing name, role, start date, and month rate. So we're just going to be doing database.wrap.set. That is what it's that's just how I yeah. So now if we, I think now that we should be able to
Isn't that one gonna have like at the start?
huh?
How we have it? So like you look at
Oh, we're not listening. This is what this is just to clear out those other fields in here. So like on here, this is what it should be doing. It's just emptying these fields as we add them, so that way it's not. Yeah. And so now this is where that's stored. So if somebody wants to try Oh, yes. Ah,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, all he needs was the other one that was Alright, this is really frustrating me.
or is it that capital B?
Oh, wait.
Oh yeah, it's a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, so I think the variable capital B, like in the variable,
Yeah, that's
put
fine.
over there.
Yeah.
So
It's all lowercase. Yeah.
who wants to update? Now how much you gonna make? All nine, so all sevens.
Where?
You're a person. Yes.
Then come to the next one, the on one.
Firebase watcher.
Remember the on, you capture it and you add it. So just add that function and do a console log. That's all. Nothing fancy.
Right, so that can you, like, that ref that set is for just.
Saving it in the database. And this one is to capture what is.
And like see it outside the database.
This console log.
Take that out.
We'll be changing this, but for now, this will.
Okay, so it doesn't.
Yeah, just,
Changing the value to an actual.
no, yeah, don't change anything, just console log. Because you'll be modifying this a bit and then you use it. Alright, how many groups are done with the Firebase? You guys done? Alright. Just do the next part, which is the on one, if you guys haven't done it. So we are saving it to the database using the set. Just create the on function from the Firebase so that you can just console log whatever is being saved on your database. That's all. Alright, nothing else. Don't update your HTML with the data that comes back. And this is going to be outside your submit button.
Yeah. No, let's see. Yeah, you're right. We developed it.
Working?
Yeah. Look at these webs. Look at the data flow through these pipes. This is the exciting stuff. I don't know what excited by this. I think I need a shower.
That's like the header. It's like it has the.
Especially if I get to think what's
Inside there.
seriously. And that's just his monthly rate. And
That's
it's
the only part I like it
Because we wanted to
rolling in the data. No, that's drug money, dude. You're literally making websites for the black market. You're making the brand new super hard. Oh, yeah, that would suck. Times, what is it? Isn't it like 75% like the average? Like, it's like 77. Or even worse. I mean, that's still nothing to sneeze at, but that would be nice.
All right, we'll go on a break and we'll start around 8 o'clock again with the next phase. Again, in this phase, if you are done with the set method, just add the on. But at the on method, you are just console logging the data that comes back. Don't update your HTML or anything. That's all we are going to do. And after 8, we are going to look at something new, next method, and then we'll update our project with that. Okay, we'll start back at 8 o'clock.
Oh. So, Danny,
Yes.
is value, the event listener we have there, is value a Firebase?
Oh,
Yeah, and that's, okay,
Yeah.
specifically for Firebase.
Oh yeah, I remember
It's not
the.
anything, okay, because I just
No.
never seen, I hadn't seen it before, and I'm just like,
Oh, that's what we did on Saturday. Were you not here?
I had to think about it early on Saturday.
Oh, I remember you.
I was not feeling good, I
Oh,
couldn't
yes.
function.
So if you look at the on method in the documentation,
Uh-huh.
this value thing, this is what we're using.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I was looking through the jQuery documentation, and I'm like, find value, event listener.
Yeah.
But then I just Googled it, and it's like value event listener.
Yeah.
Came up with Firebase,
Yep.
and I'm like, okay.
Yep.
So it looks like the inside yeah. So it looks like he's calling inside on the where's the
supposed to take all the value. exactly what you have. Variables on the outside. No, it doesn't. Yeah, look at that. Similar to that. Oh, it's the same thing. So it's kind of like a reset. So this is like creating the value. So this allows the value. So what this does is as soon as you go to the value, for example, the right format.
Yes.
Okay. So let's put a console.
Yes, I think that.
Event info, right? What is event? Yeah, but what is event? Just the event. Okay, but do you have it somewhere? It's not a window pane. So no, it's a variable basically or an object, right? But do you have it declared somewhere or anything? No. So it's not when you put it there. No. So you have it in the right position, but event has to be somewhere. It has to be declared or defined. It's not a global variable. Event is not. Right. So on your yes. So on your on click you have everything, and then you have your callback function. That's where you need to have your event passed in, and then you can use it. It's not a global function.
This suddenly starts taking place.
So I had another question. I have problems consistent. Buttons are never supposed to be the same. Because every time I've had a button inside the form,
Oh my god, there's so
it
much.
crashes the page or it reloads it. I've had this happen in 2 separate assignments, and every time I take a button out of it, it's so hard.
Okay. So remember event. That's why we have that so that the event dot event default. So when we use this, we are saying do not submit the page, right? That's what we're doing. So we are so that when our code comes over here, the form doesn't go back and submit. So if you have a button inside the form, you need to make it stop. You need to say don't submit the form. That's the default, like the behavior of the form. Okay. So if you have this and it is behaving naughty, then
No, I did not have that.
okay. So that's why we have it. Otherwise, it's going to behave like you are saying.
Yeah, because in my GIF, in the GIF, API,
Yeah.
I had, the search bar with a button next to it, and inside that was inside the form. And then I figured out that like every time that I pressed the submit button to add a topic to my button, it would just refresh the page.
Right. Yeah. We don't want that.
And I'm like, no, that's not what I want. So.
Take that out.
And I was looking at
I didn't have that.
You don't think?
I don't think so.
If you have this, so inside of a form, so if it looks like this, so if this is inside of a form, the default behavior is to submit a post, and that's why the page will refresh. If you actually take this out, it shouldn't do that.
At first, I thought it was because I was using some funky CSS library, and I'm like, okay, maybe it's just that, but then, no, that makes sense. That might have been there instead of
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure if you take types equals submit out, it shouldn't do that. But if it does, you can just use event default.
I also just took it out of the form, and it was just floating in the nav bar.
So we are building this right now.
Oh, we're on that one. Okay.
Yeah.
So it will be this exercise the whole class. I would create an animation process. So these are all HTML attributes. So this has no bearing on so what you do is so if you want to take this value and so what's the goal that you want to do with this value? You want to create a new button, right? So you can create a new oh, you can
I was fine. I was falling asleep. Just like, I could not stay awake, and I'm just like I would not have gotten anything in the class, unfortunately. I just couldn't. I found myself just sitting like this.
There
So I'm like,
how far do you guys go? Okay, Index is done. That's working.
Yeah.
That looks wonderful.
Yeah. It's tax season right now,
So
so
what's the stopping point of that?
we have 10 hours. We're just getting options. Okay. But it'll be
Okay, are you watching the event first? You have
we're like just about to Saturday, Sunday, or
So you should be linking something like this. Okay.
it's kind of hard because I also want to be at work at 5 a.m. So as soon as I get
And do we have this event document?
actually I have it before, so you need by 4:30. So we try to it's great.
So you guys are close. Yeah, you guys are close.
Or I can just go, like, I go home and I take 20 minutes out. Kind of party for the rest of the day. You know? Okay. We should change the other group as well. That's good. And then let's make the are we going to make the border and the other one the same color? I just wanted us to have like just so that way it was a little bit more. I don't know. It looks pretty good. You just want to change the I want it to be just there. So I was just following kind of like this interior design. I'm just gonna like stuff like that. So you just can pick whatever color you want. Yes. So if you want it better, like a blue. I was just looking for something. Just
after this, well, because I did Saturday.
Well, this one was kind of like
Working? Console log? Maybe?
We were having trouble finding files are not next to each other. If that makes sense. So we're trying to link the files,
Okay.
but it's having trouble finding
Finding the files.
So here.
Are they on the same folder? Then it shouldn't be.
Alright.
So, is it going to be? Okay, so guys. So far, so
I want to load a fucking Google font for that. Let's just get. Okay, I'm
So yeah, that's why I put it up there. Yes, this is a different exercise, but this part, this function is the same one. Yeah, it's not the exact thing that we're working on, but this part is the same. This is a function that you are going to use, and then this function, these two. Yeah, that's why I put on the syntax. The code within it, yeah, you guys will figure it out because the main names are different, but the function syntax is exactly like this.
Okay.
Is there like a shooting star you have to shoot across her page every now and then? Like, I wonder, does Geo Cities
All right, couple of new concepts now. All right, so how many of you were able to save it to the database? Oh, okay. Andrew? Good? Oh. Katie, John, Randy, were you guys done? Saving it to database? Okay, how far are you guys? Oh, towards the table row? Okay. All right. So, well, looks like majority of the class is done, and we'll come to, we'll see Troy or one of the TAs can help you get forward. But first, let's look at this one now. Okay. So, what does set is doing? Set is updating your database, right? Updating the record. So, for example, if I go over here and change something, what happens when I enter a new row, new data? So if I go back to my database, what happens? It just overwrites it, right? So this is good for some cases, but in our case, that's not what we are looking. We are trying to save it to the database as individual records. So the method for that is simply push. That's all you do. So if I do set instead of push, is going to go ahead and create a new record every time we submit some information. All right, let's take a look at this. So let me remove these. Okay, now my database is empty. All I did was, instead of set, I changed it to push. And let's go back here, and I'm going to submit this. And this is what is saved in my database. All right, guys, this is important. So I have my all my these things are inside a new kind of ID thing. Okay. Let's go back. Oh, let me try this again. I think I deleted everything. Okay, that's better. Okay, so before I explain this, let's go back and add a new record this time. So this time what should happen is it shouldn't override this one. Instead, it should go ahead and add a new record. All right, so let's take a look at this now. So I have my previous information is also there, and I have a second record with the new information. Okay, so these are called child records. So this is our main root. These things, it will keep adding as much as I add. Every time I click a submit button, it's not overriding anymore. It's going to add a new record or a new child. Okay, these are called children, and it's going to add a new one. What is this crazy thing that you see, alphanumeric thing? This is called a unique ID, and Firebase generates this automatically. We don't have to worry about it. And that's how it is differentiating, and it is saying that this is a unique record or unique child. This is a unique child. Every time I add a new child, is going to add a new record over here. Okay, and that's what we are trying to do. We don't want to override the same one. We want to add data to our database. Okay, for this, instead of set, just change it to push. Okay, that's the first thing. All right, questions on this? Are we getting the difference between set and push? Set updates the record, and push adds a new. And when it adds, you will see this unique ID. This is auto generated by Firebase. Okay. Now the next thing is this thing, on value event, right? What happens every time I add, it should give me something back, right? So console log this. Oh, it's already logging this. So let's look at the first one. Just to differentiate between these two, I'll add this. Okay. Let's see if I captured something. Okay. So when I call the value function event listener, what happens? It sends a snapshot, everything that is in the database at that moment. All right. So by that definition, I can see two child, the children that it is sending with two unique IDs, which has this information and this information. Okay. Now this is okay, but remember when we were using set, it was giving just one object, and what were we doing? We were parsing it, saying snapshot.val.name, and it comes back. Now, can I use this exact same code over here, snapshot.val.name? No. Why? Because this is an array of objects now, right? It has two objects. I have to go inside and parse it, right? And I have no idea what this ID is. It's kind of difficult to hard code this ID, and it changes every time there's a new record. Okay. Now, Firebase provides us, if you look at the documentation for on, this is the method that we are using, right? The on method in our code. Dot on and value. So similar to value, they have something called child added. Okay, what this event does is it will only give the child that was most recently added. So this is child underscore added. Okay, So instead of value, I change it to child added. Now let's look at the so you see now this was before this that it gives me just one object. Okay, it's similar to the set. All right, in set we were getting one object. Okay, now in this case what we did was instead of value I need to update my event to child added. What does this event do? Every time a child, which means this thing, is added, that's the event that will get fired and it's going to give me the information of the child that was added. Okay, we cannot use value. Why not? Because it gives the whole snapshot of the whole database. That's not what I'm looking for. At this point in my exercise, I'm just looking for the new child that I added to my Firebase database. Okay, so what we have to do, we have to change first of all instead of set to push. Why? Because we need to add that to our database. And the second, when we are reading the value back, instead of value, we need to change to child underscore added. And this will give me a single object of the child that was added when I click the submit button. Okay, questions? Yes, ma'am.
So what's happening right is happening. If we want it later,
Yeah.
that's different, right?
Yeah, if you want a different one, yeah, you can use what are you trying to get? That's also.
If we want to get everything out of there, load on the screen.
Yeah, then you can just use the value and then get the whole snapshot and then parse it. So it, yeah, because if I do the value thing, right? You see it returns an array of objects. Simple that you will parse it. And then you will loop through that array and then kind of get everything out. Okay? But at this point, we are not getting everything. We just are interested in the last record. So we are going to do child underscore added. Okay? So for your project, that's what we are aiming for. This time when I add, this is how my database should be looking like. Every time you add to your database, instead of overriding, it should be pushing. So you should see multiple children inside your database. So instead of set, change it to push, and then instead of the value event, change it to child added and update your project. Okay. Now every time you add a child, you will go ahead and update your table on the top. Okay, so the first thing you will do when I click submit, instead of set, change it to push, and then after that update your table with the new row that was added. Okay, using the child added. I'll leave this code over here. Again, two changes, push and child added. That's all we are doing. Yes. Keep going.
Let's just try A for one thing. I love it. I don't like yeah. The iframe was throwing out. It's so beautiful. So everything that we have I made a big improvement.
I tried to stop.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, because these things need to be. So what I'm saying is snapshot. This is going to be snapshot.roll.
Or is it not snapshot.value?
Yes.
And then inside, so here I have a bar the values,
Can we go?
It shows up on your table.
Yes.
So the spot that was supposed to be on it,
There we go. I think maybe you should be happy at us.
No, I'm not happy at this. If you were done, then don't distract me. I'm going to sit over and
It don't show up now. Yeah, so now we can do is just like we could just add a couple of classes. But yeah, we can. But if
No, you should show up
more
over there.
I wanted to have added like another.
Yeah, you need to update the table. Yeah, it should show up on the table now.
Yeah, it shows up on the table.
Yeah, not from the record. Oh, yeah. You just need to move that code to Thailand, that's all. And that's
Well, yeah. I might have to put
Yes.
So can we try adding this dot set so we enter information?
Yeah, when you enter again, it's in the change. It adds a box in those areas.
Yeah, on the database, yes. Yep. Yep, that's the difference. So you should be seeing something like this when you use the push method.
That's how you felt. So I have removed the jQuery updates the table from the input that we get. So on page should be updating all of that stuff. From the field itself, it should just be updated from the page. So would somebody like to add this on?
What is it again? But again, yes, it's like Star Trek.
Now that you guys have that on,
It's good fan.
So my mom, she had and we were saying
January 18th, 20.
no, I was in the US
Monthly rate.
Yeah, so where's the best place to put the Firebase link again?
Firebase link. Are you guys using the document already?
Yes. This makes me feel amazing.
So the JS file for Firebase, right?
The first thing,
It goes on your head in the head tag, but before your JavaScript file.
Nothing much hyperventilating.
So
Monthly rate 350. This is kind of
Yeah, Firebase docs is so, if you just Google Firebase API documentation, I'll show you where to go. Yeah, so in this, actually, yeah, so here's a JavaScript.
I didn't want to work on trivia now. You slow.
Guys, get on our level.
First of all,
Do you even need
So on the right hand side, see all the methods down here?
we're just on a different level.
For your child adder.
Oh,
You show me scroll down to give you the value event, child event, and then what the I know it looks
good, man. First of all,
so make sure it's not just JavaScript docs and not anything else because they're gonna
I
like
like it.
and it makes our
Yeah,
So remember, use the
revel in our small wins. It's okay.
on the right side.
Learn a lot.
So that allows you to save
From
data,
everyone.
and then these guys allow you to read data. So the primary one you're concerned with is
We need to update ours, right?
like that's what's going to
You need it.
fire every time you add these
And
data.
garish colors.
Refresh.
Garish colors.
Pretty much everything
No, I
that's
have
in
not
there.
heard that word.
And
Probably since I've read a book.
Let's do this right. Obnoxious. Obnoxious might be a good word too.
I like that. I like Garrison.
okay, so it works the same way.
It's almost what it is.
You have your links on Firebase.data.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure if you
It's my middle name.
Oh, really? Your name is George? So for a child,
Let's see if we actually will.
All right. How are we doing on the database side? Push is working. Okay. All right. So you're updating the table part is going to be when the child event happens, right? It's not on your submit. When you click the submit button, you should be adding it to the database using the push. You should not be populating your table. The population of the table goes in your child added event. Whenever that event is called, then you already have that data, you update it to your table. Okay? That's the only catch in this exercise. Yes. Yes. So again, you are not adding to the table, your HTML table, when you click the submit button. You are adding it when the on change child added event fires. That's when you put your jQuery code and it updates your HTML table. Okay. Yes. Yes. Exactly. Yeah. All right. All right. Give me your attention for a few more minutes. We are going to look at something new. All right. Let's pause on this exercise. Before we begin the next part, we need to understand the date thing, and then we will start on that. Okay? All right. So up till now, this was still, well, I wouldn't say this was the easy part, but since we have covered Firebase, this is now the difficult part.
Wait a minute.
Yes. Again, as I'm saying, it's relatively easier. Again, it wasn't easy, but up till now, what we have covered, we still are we have already saw that on Saturday. If we were practicing, which I think everybody was practicing the Firebase, we still haven't covered anything new. Okay. All right. So what is Moment.js? Now I will tell you, dealing with dates in any language is really painful. I tell you, whenever there's a task, which and I need to update the dates, I'm like, you know what, I'm not going to work on that. It's yeah, that's what I always do. It's always painful. It carries over to JavaScript also. But fortunately, somebody has written a library called Moment.js, and that's what we are going to look. Interesting part is Moment.js is used in React also. Once we get to React, when you're installing React, creating a React project, you will see Moment.js is by default included over there. So there's a lot of big frameworks and libraries that kind of use Moment.js inside their code. So what Moment.js does is it helps you parse and kind of manipulate the date. Okay, that's what Moment.js does is. Now, how do we use this? It's a JavaScript library, just like any library Bootstrap you were using. We're going to use Moment.js. Now, let's look at the documentation. So, Moment.js is available in your Node.js, in your browser, Bower, and all these components. But right now, we are going to focus on the browser part. All right. So when it comes to browser, what do we need to do? We need to add it as a library to our HTML code, and we can start using the functions just like jQuery. Okay. So we are not going to look at Node.js. This is what we are looking. So it's a script file. You're going to add this. There's a CDN link. So let's go ahead and open this, and this one you will see a lot of different formats. I'm going to scroll down at the bottom. You don't want to work with any locales. So what these locale means is Moment.js has created a separate library for each locale. By locale, it means region or countries. So you will see different countries over here. I see UK, Ukraine, I guess, Uganda, and different locales. But right now, we will just worry about the main Moment.js file, so which is at the bottom over here. Okay. So what do we need to do if you want to use somebody else's library? We just create a script file, HTML page, and include that. Okay. So let me go ahead and create an HTML, and we will do the exact same thing. Let's give me a minute. Yes. What was the question?
What is the bottom minified?
All right, who can tell me the minified? I explained this before. What's the difference between .min and without the min?
The min is it creates the white space, it saves on file size.
Got it? Okay. Excellent. All right, so let me go ahead and add a moment test.html, and I'm going to create an HTML file. Now I'm going to add this script source. Okay, let's keep it simple. I'm going to move this to my body so I don't have to create a JS file, because we are going to just look at a couple of functions. I'm going to do the easy ones and leave the hard part to you guys as usual. Okay, so I've added my Moment.js file. All right, now this will let me use the functions that are available in the Moment.js. So let's go back here. Let's go back to the main page. Let's start with simple ones that they have given. Okay, so what is happening on the first line? They're saying moment.format, and if you give any format, it's going to format your date, right? Which date? The current date. So what this tells me is moment that if you call this function, it's going to give you your current date, the date and time right now. Okay, and it's going to convert it into some kind of a format. All right, first let's look at this and then we will see where we can find these formats. All right, so I'm just going to simply copy paste it. Again, boilerplate code, there's actually no change over here. So they're saying if I have everything correctly added, I should be able to use this function. So let's go ahead and console log so we can actually see what this outputs. Okay. Let's look at my console log. Refresh it so that you guys can see it. Okay, you guys see the console log? So what they were suggesting is if you use this code, your current date is going to be formatted in this format. Okay, that's all Moment does. So it takes your current date and then it formats into something that you are looking for. Again, this is a big deal. If you do it in vanilla JavaScript, it takes a lot more effort. But this thing, with just one line, you can format your date and kind of use it on your website. Okay, now this is not the only format available. Let's look at this one. So this one they're saying it's MMM, so it should give you March, whatever. It should give you the name of the month, and then DO should give you the TH date, right? Whatever the date is, and then the year is giving you just short of this. Okay, so if I copy this thing, okay, let's look at our page. So this gives me this thing. Okay, now let's relate this, what's going on. So the format seems like if you have 3 uppercase M's, it gives you the name of the month, short name of the month. Okay, DO gives you the date, the day with the TH thing, like 26, 27. Okay, and double Y uppercase is giving you the year or last 2 digits of the year. Okay, this is one-to-one mapping. Now again, do I need to remember these formats? I don't. Let's look at the documentation for that. So I will go into docs, parse. Let's look at formats. So these are all the available formats that you can use in your code. Double Y, remember what was it? It was giving the last 2 digits of the year. If I put 4 Ys, it gives me the whole year according to this. So let's go back and I can change this to 4 Ys and this should give me the complete year. Okay. Let's see what else is there. We are using DO, so it gives the ST, 31st, 1st, and all those stuff. I can change it to the day of the month, so I could do just the D or this one. Let's go back. Let's try this. Okay, so now I have the number of the day that in this month. I can change the month as well. Can change it to a number. Let's see what else is there. There was is it string plus formats? There's a whole list. Let's look at this. String, month. Oh, display and format. Okay. It's the same list. It's just that they have combined, when you go into display and format, it combines the whole, everything that is available over here. Okay, so we saw months, we saw day, year. You can also use time also. If you use H, M, SS and all that stuff, it will give you time also. So let's try this one, HH. Let's try HH and I want this. What for minutes is mm, and let's see, is there something for AM, PM? Okay, let's use A. Okay, let's start with this. So this gives me the time also now. Okay, if I want to add seconds, I don't need this anymore. Seconds is SS or S. So let's try SS. And they should give me seconds as well. No, it checks your operating system. Yeah, the browser thing. It checks your whatever the zone you are in your computer. So it's basically getting it from your operating system. Yeah. Yes.
Is it getting the whole date time information from the operating system?
Yeah. Yeah. Everything. Yeah. It has all the. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So this was the formatting part. Okay. Now what happens is, let's see, we have an activity. I'm going to kind of start that activity. Okay. Now what does everybody understand? Moment parenthesis gives you the current date and time, right? What is right now? Now there happens to be a case that you are not interested in the time right now, but you have like a future date or something, all right, or a past date, and you're trying to calculate how many days have been there, how many months have been there between those two days, right? Kind of going back to our activity. Now my activity is, remember these months worked, right? How do we just have this start date. Now we want to know from this start date to today how many months have been worked, right? Right. So we need something more. This moment just gives us our current time, but moment also has some other good features where you can give it your custom date or time, and then it will calculate the difference and all that stuff, okay, between the current time and whatever the date has gone. Okay, so let's look at this one, difference. So I went into display and difference. So moment has a function called difference, DIFF, where you can pass in the date and it will give you the difference between your current date and the date that you're passing. Okay, let's see what that means. So let's try the second method. So let's call random date. Okay, and this is going to be a string. Let's go ahead and I'm going to use the activity example that you guys have for later on. Okay, this is my date that I'm going to be calculating the differences. Okay, just a random date. All right, so the first thing is, this is what data type is this? This is a string. Okay, I need to convert it into something that our moment can use. And what is the format of this one? If we remember this format thing, so if you look at this date, what format do you think is this? MM, then I have a slash, then DD, and then I have YYY. Excellent. Okay. All right. So next thing, I'm going to create my moment date. Oops. And I'm going to say call my moment function. Okay, and this time I'm going to pass in my random date and my random date and random date. Wow. Are you guys sleeping? Nobody corrected me this time. No, there's no weird cookie thing over here.
I don't know what's going on anymore. Just trust me, right? You're the Sherpa. Lead us.
All right. So what I did, I passed in the date. Okay, my date, my custom date, which is a string, and I'm passing in the format. So what I'm doing over here, I'm telling moment that, okay, this date belongs to this format. Okay, so this is our starting point now. Okay, now moment, I tell moment that, go ahead and convert. So I'm going to use my moment date variable, this one. Okay, this is of type moment now. So I'm going to say moment dot format. Now where is this format coming from? This thing. So I went into format. They're saying moment. They have a function called format. So I'm saying format, and then I can pass in any format that we just saw. Let's start with the one that we already did. Okay, moment.format. So let's go ahead and console log this. Okay, the first line is my current date. It is formatting to this. If I want a custom date, if I want something else, I don't want today's date, I have another date that I want to format it. What do? I create it, give it a format, and then there's no time, so let's remove this. And then I can format this in any format that I can do. Okay. Let's look at, because this is what you guys will be kind of using. Unix timestamp. So what happens if I say convert this into Unix timestamp? How do I do it? Just pass in X. This is the Unix timestamp. Anybody knows what Unix timestamp is? Why is
Number of something 16, 70.
Yes, exactly. Number of seconds. Number of seconds from January 1st, 1970, which was a Thursday.
Well, obviously, catalog. I mean,
What is it?
obviously needs to be stored somewhere because,
Right.
right, guys.
Yeah, you will be surprised.
Why 1970?
Why 1970? Because that was the day when Unix started. So that's the started there.
The year after the year after we got to the moon, it's like,
Yeah.
whoa, things are crazy now,
Yeah.
guys. We gotta start logging time.
Right.
Logging time.
All right. So whenever we talk about the Unix time, this is what happens. Then the number of seconds from 1970 1st January to today. Okay.
All right, Jim.
Remember this format, and you'll soon be using it. Okay. All right. So that's how you convert into Unix time.
Like seriously, though, just that's when it started. Who gives up? Why can't we use regular time? What's wrong with regular time?
So everything is branched out of Unix. We need to understand that, right? The computers that you are using, MacBooks, everything is carried over Unix. There is nothing new or anything. Whatever was done, Unix already did it. Now we are kind of carrying it over all that format. So all the terms that you see, right? The formats that you see, right? They are kind of based off Unix. So that's why we have to kind of, and it is, you will see the advantages. It kind of takes the time zone thing and who is coming. So your website is not over here. Maybe somebody else 3,000 miles is accessing it, right? How do you determine the time zone and all that stuff? So this format kind of makes it easier for you.
Oh yeah.
And we'll see how, and most of the databases you will see they kind of save it in your Unix format, even Firebase. So we'll look at your exercise right now. Okay, it doesn't care about your time zone. Excellent. All it cares is about January 1st, 1970 and today. That's it. It doesn't care. All right. Everybody good with this? So you can format your time using moment.js. All right. Let's look at the function diff. Difference. This was what we did. So the function is called diff, and then you pass in your moment date and a string. Like, what is this string? From the documentation, this string can be years, months, weeks, days, hours, minutes, seconds. That's the keyword. Yes. What the format should be. So, moment date, okay, and dot diff. So what is my moment date? This is this 1999 date. Okay, so I'm saying from this date to today, give me the difference. What does this mean? Current date. All right, everybody good? Remember the current date? How do you get the current date? With this. Okay, so I'm saying from my current, give me the difference between my current date and this date, which is this one. And I can use one of these strings: years, months, weeks, blah blah. So let's start with years. Console log that. Oops. All right, so we are looking at the last one. Let's see what this comes out as. It says 20 or minus 20 because I have those dates switched. Okay, and if I want a positive, what do I have to do? Just switch it around to moment over here, and then my moment date object. Okay, so there's a difference of 20 years. All right, between this and this, I can change it to, what was it, month or months? Months.
Oh.
Sure. Are you? Yeah, works right. So 241 months have passed between that. Okay, guys, kind of seeing in your exercise, we need to calculate the number of months. This would be a good method to use. Yes, ma'am.
So you're asking how many years? Checking
yeah.
4 years have passed?
It is checking like current month to whatever that month is.
Okay, so the date of the month from now.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's do this. Can you slack out the solution for the next activity, the moment one? Look at the solution. Make sure it is working and you understand. Before, we'll just take like 5 or 10 minutes, and then we'll jump back to this exercise, your mini project. And this time, what you have to do? You have to get this months, and then calculate the final part, which is the total work hours. All right, so a little bit maths is involved. Get the number of months and then do it. But before that, take 5 minutes and look at the solution. The solution has all the things that I did. So look at the comments and the solution. How do you get it? Okay. Let me just open the, is there a solution? No, let me open the solution here. Looking at that, complete the next exercise and you should be able to calculate the number of months. Okay. I saw in the solution, the last one was kind of different what the solution was saying. I fixed it. I think this is the correct one according to me, but take a look at this and see if I did this correctly. So the last one, go through it. The last one just says determine what day of the week and what week of the year this random date falls on. On your solution, you will see this, but I think this is not the right one. So I did it like this for the first one and the second one. Take a look at this and the documentation. So in your documentation, you are looking at format, and I just looked up the format for the week over here and then put it over there. I can go to moment site, look at the site, the documentation. We are in, from this, look into display and then format. This is the more important one. And format and then the difference, these two. Difference and format. That's what you're looking at. Okay. And this is the solution. Take like 5 minutes, go over it. Make sure you're able to incorporate the moment.js file in your code, in your employee database. You will see something interesting when you go and try to save the date in your database. Yes. Let's see, what do we have? So in your employee database, do this. When you're saving your date, save it in Unix time format. And then when you're retrieving it, get the Unix time and then show it as your regular human readable format.
And
Like months, days. Okay, yeah, it's like March. All right, from this exercise, let me know if you have any questions according to whatever the solution is. Take a look at it and let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next part.
we're going to be passing the arguments the date value or start date value and our format so that we convert it
Wait, those are
to
the other we already have the
format
that capture the value. So yeah, that's when you put it in there and you take the value. You don't have the oh yeah.
so yeah.
Oh, oh, over there?
Yeah.
Oh. Oh.
Then we have to make
And I'm just going to see if we're able to get that and work it and not key number. It was supposed to give us the number.
We're having trouble targeting the post-child method.
Okay.
We do child add that's giving us our response to every child that's has so we have like this was just 1 month. So we end up pushing story and then on child add
Yeah.
I mean, when I was I need to get this ready. We're going to start day.
That's what when I say all it is like the actual numbers that we're getting.
You think that
into
amount
a
of
format that
Should be on your
or it could be the X, it could be let's try.
you just have to add the moment is done. The only thing you can do is that setting format. That one is setting
So far, for setting the format, we would just do it.
because the moment,
That's the format that you have on your website.
So the format that it gives it back to us from Firebase is year, month, day, with the hyphen and separating them.
Year, month, day.
Yeah.
So
Well, no, that's just how it is when it passes it back to us.
right. So if when you're saving it to your database, are you converting it to this format and then saving it?
No, we're just
Yeah. So it's a string.
yeah, it is a string,
Right.
but it looks like this when we get it back. So we input it as month, day, year.
Right. So what do? We capture this input and then convert it into this format and then save it to Firebase before you're saving it to Firebase. So if you, what's happening, it seems like is if you just pass this string, then Firebase has their own format, it kind of formats it all. How about you convert it into this format
Yeah, that's what
and then save it to your database?
I'm trying to do. That is it that it's supposed to be two Y's right here, or is it?
You are not retrieving it.
Yeah, like
I'm saying saving when you do a push, right? The date that you are pushing is what? Is a string. It's not formatted. Correct?
Yeah.
So I'm saying convert this date into the format first and then save it to your database. So the on click is retrieving. So that's we are already past this. So when you are pushing, right? When you do a push, you are pushing a date, right? And what is this date? This is a string. So when you push it in any format as a string, it seems like Firebase is automatically converting it into whatever format they have. So before you do a push, why don't you convert this into this? Explicitly say by this day, this format, this moment, and then push it out to this
Before we do,
before your database.
and it won't change anything, like when it does the.
Well, give it a try. If it
Oh, okay.
is it saving it as that format or not?
I guess, yeah.
Or here's the other thing. You have to convert it into some format.
Okay.
The other format, what I would suggest is when you are pushing, right? Convert the date to Unix time. Okay? So what will happen is it will give you number of seconds, 1, 2, 3, whatever. Right? When you retrieve this number in your on method, right? It's going to be Unix. Now convert this into your MMDDY format. So this way you will always get the correct value. You won't have to you won't have to worry about is Firebase saving as this or this
Well,
or this or whatever.
So that seems like kind of an easier way to do it.
Exactly. This is why it's converted into Unix time, so it will always be number of seconds. right? Then when you get it back, it will be number of seconds. Then it will be easier to format it into this way, and you will always have the right days. So then you're not dependent on what Firebase is doing.
Well, like on that, couldn't you instead of random format, couldn't you just make it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, change it to Unix time.
God damn it, I was right.
Yeah,
We're just
right.
listening to you talk.
Yeah. So the date that you are getting in your input, right?
Yeah, you can turn that into.
Exactly. Turn it into Unix time. Save it. When you retrieve it, it's going to be Unix time. Then convert it into whatever date you want and show it.
Okay.
That's easier. So you're telling Firebase, don't mess with my date format. Just save it as seconds. Is always going to be seconds. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's why.
Yeah, so it would be like, yeah, like X, because you don't need to change and I'm guessing, yeah.
Okay, so Daniel,
Right,
what
so
we
as
have,
long-
I think I know why it's converting it to the month, the year, month, day.
Okay.
We have
Then, yeah,
our
let's figure
input
out-
be typed date. So it
Ah.
automatically is pushing it as
Okay.
year, month, day.
That's why I think keep it as a string. Keep it as a string.
It saves it as a string. It's just as in the format of it pushes it as the string in the format of year, month, day.
Okay. Yeah, because JavaScript is automatically converting it for you. That's the problem.
Java.
Yeah. So we've got each.
So that's why. Oh, you have the clicker and all. Oh,
Well,
you have the
all we did is for input.
Well, and still, that one has to have a.
For
Oh,
the
we
in the
did- yeah,
HTML,
I changed it to text, so-
we did input
Yeah,
type.
you did after. I added this text at one
We have input type date
That one I just made a new.
over there. So that was just from the browser.
Yeah, so it auto like you don't have control anymore. Now the browser is whatever the default set is, and it's converting it. So this way, I was saying that we don't want to give the control to anybody. We want to keep the control on ourselves.
Okay, so just
Yeah, but that would be a good challenge
they
to
just
how
wanna,
to
yeah, they
convert
just want to
that.
put like for right now.
Then you'll have to, that's fine right now, but you'll have to verify that. But it's a good challenge if you already have the date. How do you convert the date into try this, take the date, put it in a string and convert it into moment. You can try that. Okay. So when you console log, what does it output? The date. What does it output when you console log the date?
But I would want to try the easier way first.
Yeah, easier way.
We just need to check out.
Yeah, that's the next challenge. It's possible with what you are doing also. I would convert it into a string and then format it. But yeah, easier way is to just save it as a string, convert it to Unix time, save it, retrieve it back, convert it back, and you have your working? No working? Still not working? Same question. Same question.
So we just need to modify that. Now that we and well, we also needed to change the
We were just
but this also well, that's what he has.
we also got a
Oh no, you're right. He does have one.
Oh yeah, I think so is this since it pushes this
I had this like over there.
I know.
You just exactly as he says right there.
Right, I get that.
Now, for the one that gives us a string, now we're actually getting a number. It's not quite the base one,
But this is
steps in the right direction.
this is the database. I'm just trying to
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It was just
right. Yeah. And the moment.
I can't believe. Right, it's that time of life.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
What the fuck is this?
So Unix time would be one.
Alright.
But you just.
I get it.
The reason why it was minus 86 is because we were saying. We were saying take our converted date and subtract the current date of that. And we actually want to take our current date and subtract
Yes.
and display that in months. So the reason we had the smaller number. So we were saying. Yeah. So for Bilbo, since he started in February 23rd, 1773, he has been working for as an adventurer for 2,950 months. So now that we actually have that, we can actually update our the format is from the dummy.
It doesn't matter.
We just need to get to our billions of
So your submit button should have the code to just that's all. Is that what it is? And your non-event is outside the submit button. Outside or on try and in this event you are adding your jQuery to add to that.
So it should be time or
Submit, you are saving it, you are not retrieving it. This thing is outside the submit, and in this event, you are adding your jQuery methods to add to your table on your this is outside your submit button. And in this function, that's where you are adding your jQuery table update.
All right, in 4 minutes, I have one more thing to cover, and that's related to your homework. So we'll stop this exercise at 14, and then we have a checkpoint also for last 5 minutes. Check it. How are we doing on the months part? Do you guys calculate the months? Months is coming back as no? Not a number. Nan. What is your logic? What are you doing?
So first, because we were getting the same problem, on your input field for the start date, what do you have as the type? Do you have it as a string or as date? That's my first question.
Text is fine.
our problem is we had it as dates, and that was
Type is text.
Yeah, that's okay. What are you saving it in your database? Is it a date?
So that's the whole problem. I'm not even sure we haven't even fleshed out.
Oh, okay.
So we can
What is it?
Well, yes. You get your data, obviously,
okay. It's 1,636 million. That is how much we missed, or has been.
function, I got that fixed. Cold.
I think. Yeah, I think it's because
body jQuery.
he makes $1,000,000,001,000. I got it. I know.
What does it say?
Alright guys, let's do this one last thing, and this is just the homework. I want to cover something for your homework. Okay? Alright, so for your homework, which is due next week, we have a similar form. Again, I will post the solution for employee thing, so you can see it's very similar form. What is going on is you have to input a train name, that's okay, destination, that's fine. First time the train starts, and the frequency, like every how many minutes the train is coming. Okay, for example, over here it says, well, they don't have the time, but they have the frequency. Okay, so let's suppose the train starts at 3:30 a.m. Okay, and let's look at this one. So let's suppose your first train comes at 3 a.m. Okay, and then after that it comes at every 3 minutes. Okay, so assuming that the current time is 3:16, what's the time that the next train is going to come at?
Every 3 minutes, 3:19?
No, right now it comes at 3. Okay, every 3 minutes, and right now it's 3:16. 2 minutes. Okay, the second test, if the train starts at 3, the first train, okay, and then it comes at every 7 minutes. Right now it's 3:16. What time does the next train come at?
3:21. Duh.
Does everybody get the calculation?
I do now.
Okay, so in the homework, that's what you have to do. You have to calculate the next time and the time from my current time. So this keeps changing. All right, these minutes are going to keep changing, and it has to give me what the next time my train is going to come. Okay, and how are you setting it? You are setting the name, destination, first time, the train starts coming, and the frequency. And frequency is these number of minutes that I have over here. Okay? All right. When you are trying to solve it in JavaScript, okay, what's the algorithm? I will quickly go over it. What's happening is you are calculating the number of minutes between your current time and the first time the train comes, okay? And then you are calculating the remainder. It's always going to give you, if you divide it, the remainder is going to give you the number of minutes that it wasn't divisible, basically. So number of minutes that is remaining, okay? And then you add those to get the current time. All right, one more time. So let's suppose it was at 3 a.m. and right now it's 3:16. How many minutes are there? 16 minutes, right? 16 mod 3. 3 is the frequency, okay? It gives me 1, right? The next part is the frequency and the number that you get over here. What is this number? It's giving you that, you know, when you're trying to divide something, if it gives you 0, this means it's right on the clock, like 16, then 32, then plus 16, whatever that is, right? This gives me that this is the remainder for when you mod with the frequency, right? If you want to find out how many minutes is away, so you will subtract the frequency with the answer that you get. It should give you how many minutes it's away. Okay, then you add it to, so in one column you're going to show how many minutes this is away, and then in the next column you're going to add this to the current time to show this is the current time, that this is the future time that this train is going to come. Okay? All right. So here's the problem with this one. No. So the code is, I'm going to give you the code for this explanation also, but unfortunately I'm not going to go over the code because this is basically, I'm giving you the solution for next week's homework. Okay? All you have to do is go through the code, understand it, and implement the solution. And the reason is that I'm being so nice is that you have your project starting from Thursday, so I will recommend complete this homework as soon as you can before even your project starts. Again, your basic homework is you have to do this UI. We already kind of did it in the class right now. I'll post the solution too. When you get this, you have to get this information, show it, save it to your Firebase. Okay, again, Firebase, save it. Am I saving every column? No, I'm saving the first one, second one, frequency. These two I'm calculating. Okay, and how do I calculate? This is the test case and this is the formula, right? Below you even have the code for it. Okay, the thing is, I'm not going to go over the code now. You guys have to at least put this effort, go through the code, but the logic is still the same, right? Try to make an effort, understand the logic, and then go over the code. The only tricky part in this code is this part, all right? Take a look at it, ponder over it. It will come to you. Eventually, when it comes to you, you'll be like, oh, okay, I see what it is, right? It took me some time to even understand this. I'll be honest with you, okay? So, but when it comes to you, you will understand why. The only tricky part is this line number 61 to 62. Okay, everything else is something that we have already covered. Diff, all right, it's calculated different. These things are basically replica of this thing over here. Okay, and this comment is there. We are pushing it back to 1 year. So you need to understand why we are doing it. Okay, when it comes to you, will understand why this is necessary. Again, but all you have to do is go through the code, understand before you copy paste it, please. Okay, please make sure you understand this before you copy paste it. Okay.
How dare you, sir? There's no copy and paste. Everything's just straight code and off the top of our dome.
All right. All right, so everybody understand the homework though? This is the homework that you have to do. This is the basic one. There's a challenge one. Take a look at it. If you want to make this challenging also, you can add a update and a remove button over here. If I click remove, this row is going to be removed from my database. All right, look up the remove method in your Firebase. Okay, but that's the next level challenge. Or update it. Update means I want to update my frequency. Okay. But the basic one is this, and then you can add your update or remove buttons if you want, and then there's a challenge one. You can look at the challenge one later on. Okay. Again, I will post this solution and the solution for the employee one that we were working in this class today. You can, if you guys make the connection, it's very similar to what we did today. Okay, the UI is almost the same. Okay, create your Firebase. It should be saving it to database, retrieving it. Use the child ones. Don't use the set ones. Use the push method. Otherwise, it's going to overwrite everything. Yes. Oh, okay. All right. And then I will post this solution. Look at the algorithm. Again, the reason is because we have our project coming up. So I would highly recommend get this out of the way as soon as you can, which is probably by tomorrow. I'm just, no, okay. Okay, I'm just joking. Yeah, but okay. So Nick will post the checkpoint. Look at the checkpoint. Again, it doesn't count towards your grade. So complete the checkpoint. Thursday is a very important class. We're going to kick off our project. Please, I don't want anybody streaming. Please make sure you guys are in the class. We'll be going through the project groups, and everything. Okay, so it will be better if everybody is in the class and nobody is streaming. All right? Any questions? Yes. Can you say that? I couldn't hear anything. What was that? Main? Train example. Yeah. I'll push it to GitLab. You have this solution. Or Nick will post it on Slack also. But I will update this GitLab right after the class. So everything should be there. You should pull and everything will come. Okay, so it's called train example. It has your kind of solution to your homework. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, you have to use Moment.js. But Moment.js is for formatting your code and everything. You still have to, you see we are still using Moment, but you have to do some math to calculate this difference. We're still using Moment. Yeah. Yeah, no, you.
I was like, isn't it just
No, without Moment, this is going to be even more complicated. Please use Moment.js and Firebase to complete this exercise. All right, Blair is going to do it without. Yeah. The timers one? All right, any other questions? Thursday, project. So please make sure everybody's here. We'll be discussing a lot about projects. All right, any other questions? Otherwise, complete the checkpoint and that's the end. Good? Questions? Yes.
How long for the project?
2 weeks. We'll talk more. 2 weeks.
Damn.
2 weeks.